right? Ever feel like, kind of like, you're caught in the currents of society,
Yep.
just
Yeah.
going with the flow?
It's easy to feel that way, yeah.
What if you could, I don't know, maybe understand those currents, even navigate them?
Now that would be something.
We're diving deep into the world of sociology, see if it's the career path for you.
A fascinating choice, for sure.
We've got a stack of insights from RoleCatcher to guide us.
RoleCatcher, by the way, for those unfamiliar, it's like, a compass for your career,
Okay.
And what I find really interesting here is they're showing us how sociology, it's not just this like academic pursuit, it's a real world skill set.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So, what's a day in the life of a sociologist actually look like? Beyond just, people watching.
People watching, right. I could think of it more like, detective work, in a way.
Yeah.
Sociologists don't just observe, societal behaviors, cultural quirks, all that. They analyze the systems behind them.
Yeah.
It's like, why do people choose certain dance moves? Are they following a trend, imitating others, or are they expressing something deeper, something about their background or their culture?
Whoa, okay, I'm picturing a sociologist with a magnifying glass at a rave now.
Right.
But seriously, RoleCatcher emphasizes this idea of sociologists working everywhere, universities, government, even private companies. That's not what I typically picture.
And that's the thing. They're needed wherever you find people interacting, which is, well, everywhere.
Sure.
That could mean instead of being stuck in a stuffy office, you're out there doing field work, interacting with all sorts of communities, or you're crafting these really compelling reports based on what you find.
Okay, so it's way more dynamic than I thought. RoleCatcher really emphasizes strong analytical and research skills. Makes sense, but they also highlight communication, like a lot. Written and verbal. They even mention cultural competence, which, that seems crucial for navigating all those different social settings.
It's essential. Imagine you're trying to conduct research in a community where you don't get the local customs, the communication styles. You're going to miss crucial stuff.
Yeah.
Cultural competence, it's like having a sociological decoder ring, It helps you understand behaviors, communication, all that within the right context.
That makes a lot of sense. You could have groundbreaking insights, but if you can't communicate them effectively...
It's like this amazing melody, played beautifully on a piano, but no one's around to hear it. And that leads to something else RoleCatcher breaks down, the career ladder. From junior sociologists all the way up to those senior positions, they even have example profiles so you can see how it goes.
Oh, wow.
It's like a roadmap for your sociology career,
It's like a roadmap for your sociology career. But here's where it gets really interesting. They mention AI, automation, playing a larger role, especially in hiring. So how do sociologists who study humans adapt to a world increasingly driven by algorithms?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
not just about understanding society as it is now, but like anticipating how technology will reshape it. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
This is where those specializations like digital sociology, which focuses on tech and society, that becomes really, really important.
So it's almost like sociologists are becoming like tech explorers, venturing into the digital frontier, trying to understand how it's all changing how we interact.
It's a new world out there, that's for sure.
But let's say, you're intrigued by this whole sociology thing. How do you actually land a job? RoleCatcher has some advice there. Right?
Yeah, they do. And it's not all about having sociology stamped on your diploma,
Right.
RoleCatcher highlights these, what they call transferable skills.
Okay.
Things like communication, critical thinking, even project management, stuff you pick out in all kinds of places.
So even if you haven't, dedicated your entire life to studying, like, Weberian bureaucracy.
Right, exactly.
There's still a path to a sociology career.
There is. Let's say you worked in marketing, for example. You're already analyzing consumer behavior, you're understanding trends, you're crafting these persuasive messages. That's gold. In the sociology world, that is.
So it's about reframing your experience, like highlighting those skills, even if they don't, scream sociologist right away.
Exactly. And that's where those AI algorithms we talked about that RoleCatcher mentioned, that's where it gets even more interesting.
Yeah.
Imagine a computer, right? Scanning resumes.
Right.
It's looking for keywords, specific things. Knowing how to present your experience so it appeals to a human recruiter, but also to those algorithms, that's huge.
It's like having a superpower, almost.
It really is.
Okay, so you've deciphered the algorithm, your resume's made it through, and now you're face-to-face with a real-life sociologist in an interview. What does RoleCatcher say about acing that conversation?
Well, this might sound a little counterintuitive, but they really emphasize passion over perfection.
Oh.
Yeah, like obviously you need the knowledge, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But those interviewers, they also want to see that spark. When you talk about social dynamics, cultural trends, all that, they want to see you light up.
They want to know you're not just there to study it. You actually, you live for this stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that enthusiasm, it comes through when you can share specific examples.
Okay.
RoleCatcher actually encourages people, like, come to the interview ready with stories from your research, maybe volunteer work you've done, even personal projects, things that show your sociological mind in action.
So, I saw this social pattern in my own life, and I used, what I've learned about sociology to understand it better.
There you go.
Making those connections between theory and real life.
Exactly. But it's not enough to just analyze your own experiences. You got to show you're plugged into the broader field, right?
Yeah.
RoleCatcher really highlights knowing your stuff, like be familiar with current sociological debates, who the key thinkers are, the emerging trends. It's like you're not just reading the textbook, you're part of the conversation already.
They're looking for someone who's not afraid to, jump into the ring, huh?
A little bit. Someone who doesn't just pick a side, but really wants to understand all the nuances of an argument.
That's what makes a good sociologist, I guess.
Oh, that's it. It's not just memorizing facts. It's being comfortable with ambiguity, asking the hard questions. Approach your research with an open mind.
Sounds intense.
Yeah.
But also, intellectually stimulating. I can see the appeal. But RoleCatcher also dives into the rewards, right?
Yeah, they do.
What stood out to you there?
It's interesting. They emphasize the intrinsic motivations a lot. You're probably not going to become a celebrity sociologist.
Unless you're writing, the next viral think piece on, I don't know, the sociology of TikTok dances.
Right. Exactly. But what you do gain is this opportunity to contribute to something so much bigger than yourself.
Okay.
RoleCatcher highlights sociologists who've actually, influenced real policies, designed those effective social programs, even helped reduce crime rates. That's a legacy.
It's like knowing your work has a ripple effect.
Yeah.
But they do mention the challenges, too. Competition for funding, pressure to publish, the work itself. It can be emotionally draining.
Oh, absolutely. It's not always easy grappling with those big social problems, you know?
Right.
But for those who stick with it, who are driven by that desire to understand, to improve the world around them.
It can be amazing.
Exactly.
Like they say, with great sociological insights comes great responsibility.
Something like that.
But, okay, let's shift gears a bit here. RoleCatcher talks about how sociology is becoming, increasingly specialized. You can't just be an expert on everything social.
You probably saying you're a chef, but what kind? Pastry chef? Saucier? Molecular gastronomy? Which one is it?
So many options.
RoleCatcher actually highlights some really interesting niches within sociology that are, booming right now.
Oh, yeah.
Environmental sociology, for one. Huge right now. As we're all facing climate change, these sociologists, they're studying how those environmental issues, they intersect with all sorts of things.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, inequality,
Okay.
social justice, even political power.
Okay, so instead of just looking at melting ice caps, they're looking at how those melting ice caps impact different communities, how it maybe creates tension, even sparks political movements.
Exactly. They're asking who benefits from certain environmental policies, who loses out, and how do our cultural beliefs shape our whole relationship with nature. It's connecting those dots between our planet and our social structures.
That's fascinating. And it reminds me of another one RoleCatcher mentioned, medical sociology, which feels, I don't know, especially relevant with everything going on in healthcare these days.
Oh, for sure. We often think about health as this purely biological thing, right?
Yeah.
But medical sociologists, they bring in that social piece, the context.
Okay.
They're looking at how things like poverty or access to healthcare, even just your cultural beliefs, can really impact your health.
Wait, so you're telling me that where you live, how much money you make, even your background, it can influence how likely you are to, get sick or even get treatment?
It plays a huge role, yeah. For example, did you know that research has shown that people living in communities with, say, a lot of air pollution, they're way more likely to have respiratory problems? And then on top of that, those same communities often lack good healthcare access, so it just compounds the problem.
Wow. I never really connected those dots. It's like having a social magnifying glass or something,
It is. And medical sociologists, they're using those insights to actually push for change.
That's amazing.
They're working to improve health equity, by addressing those social factors, like helping to design healthcare that's actually effective, but also sensitive to different cultures.
So it's not just about treating the disease, it's about treating the whole person in their world.
Exactly. And that collaborative spirit, it's not just in healthcare either. RoleCatcher really emphasizes how much sociologists today, they're teaming up with all sorts of professionals.
Oh, yeah.
Economists, anthropologists, data scientists, you name it.
It's like that old saying, two heads are better than one.
Right.
But in this case, it's more like all the sociological heads and non-sociological heads are better than one.
Uh-huh, yeah. It's about breaking down those walls, realizing that the big, hairy problems we're facing, like climate change, inequality, pandemics, they don't care about our neat little disciplinary boundaries.
Nope, they really don't.
And that's where sociologists can really shine because they can connect those dots. They see the big picture, how the different systems all kind of play together.
Right, but all that knowledge, it's not much good if it's locked away in some dusty old library, right?
Yeah.
RoleCatcher really emphasizes those communication skills.
Oh, absolutely. Because think about it. What good is groundbreaking research if no one can understand it?
True.
Sociologists, they gotta be great communicators. Whether they're writing those research papers, presenting at big conferences, or just explaining these really complex ideas to the public in a way that actually makes sense.
So it's not just about being a scientist. It's about being a storyteller, a translator,
Exactly.
an advocate for, like, making this knowledge accessible.
You got it. And these days, with social media and everything, those skills are even more important.
Oh, I bet.
Sociologists are using social media. They're writing those op-eds, even starting their own podcasts, getting their research out there, talking directly to the public.
It's like they've traded in their, like, tweed jackets for Twitter accounts.
Right.
But really, it sounds like sociology, it's constantly changing, adapting, finding new ways to make a difference.
That's what makes it so exciting. It's such a fascinating, rewarding field to be a part of.
I can see that. So for anyone listening who's feeling that little spark of curiosity, that drive to make a difference, who's not afraid to ask those tough questions and really, like, challenge the way things are.
Sociology might be the perfect fit.
It's challenging. It's always changing. But man, it's rewarding.
And who knows, maybe one of our listeners today will be a leading voice in the field someday, shaping how we understand the social world for generations to come.
And that's something to think about. This has been an amazing dive into the world of sociology, but remember, the learning never stops. Keep asking those questions, keep exploring, keep making the world a better place.
Hear, hear.
Until next time, keep diving deep.